Welcome to Python Coding episode 6, Creating Directories. This week's episode is probably the most complex of all so far. We learn how to create directories from scratch, and the sys.argv command is also covered in this guide. Okay, if you watched last week's episode number 4, then that's great. If you've not, then I highly recommend watching that first, because if you don't, you are more than likely going to struggle with this. This gets a little bit complex, and we're going to need some of the things we learned in that last episode for this one. Now, especially manipulating lists, that's certainly one of the things we're going to need. Let's have a look and see where we were in that first half of last week when we were when we created a very basic add-on with 3 entries in 3 different videos. So there you go, we've got our 3 videos. We can click on one and it will play. Okay, it was quite simple stuff. It was just a handful of lines of code and just showing how easy it is. There you go. I mean, if we press I, we've got the title as well. So we stop that and come out. Now that's all well and good, but clearly if you're making an add-on, the chances are you're not just going to want it to have one list, one static list of a whole list of content, whole list of movies or videos or whatever it is you've got. You're going to want folders and possibly subfolders to categorize things. So you might want a TV folder, a trailer folder, whatever you want, genre folder. It does get a little confusing, so you're going to have to concentrate on this one and possibly pause and rewind as and when. And you'll notice that I'm not doing this with the rest of the class, with anyone else. I'm doing this one on my own. That's just down to time constraints really, as I'm off on holiday and I wanted to get this one concluded. And also with people asking questions, it was probably going to end up being a very, very long one. So yeah, just pause and rewind wherever you need. Now let's start off at line 20 on here, where I've got the add-on handle equals integer of sys.argv, and then we've got the square brackets 1. So when you see the square brackets with a number in, you know that's relating to a list. So what we're getting returned there is a list, and we can try that. So if we do, let's test that out. Let's just do xbmc log sys.argv. Yeah. So we get the whole return of sys.argv. And hopefully this should fail, I believe. Let me just see. Oops. Test. Yep. So we've got a fail there. Let's see in the log what it says. And it says it must be a string, not a list. Okay, so we know we've got a list. Great. Now if we put that as string, convert it to a string, that will show us what the list actually looks like for humans to read. So we'll save that and we'll run that. Let's come out, let's go look in the log. And you can see there that bottom line where we've printed. So it's sent back plugin video test. So what that is, so that is number 0 in that list. So we'd use square bracket 0 if we wanted to access that there. So that is the base of our add-on. So that's the path to our actual add-on that we're running, and that's going to come in useful. The next thing we've got is a unique identifier. It's the plugin handle that kind of tells Kodi sort of who we are. And then we have a blank one. So the third one in the list is blank at the moment. Now what that actually is any extra arguments that have been sent to the system. So this is going to be the one. This is going to be the really important one, basically. So we can send extra arguments pick them up, and then we can do stuff depending on what arguments we sent. We just make those arguments up. We can call them whatever we like within reason. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, that we've got a list there, and if we wanted to show one of those items, we could go in here and do xbmc. Oh, you know what? Let's just change that one. If I wanted to show just one of the items in there, so let's say I just wanted that first item, that'd be 0. Save that, and then run it. Come back out, and you should see. There we go. We've just got that one. And it's no longer in square brackets because we've pulled it out of the list. By putting a square brackets with a number in, it pulls it out and it turns it into whatever that value is. Perfect. Right, so let's move on. So we know what that is, what that's sending. Now let's try and make some more sense out of it. What we need to do here is I'm going to get rid of that statement there, and I'm going to I've copied them. I've created something earlier, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, and then we'll go through what it's all doing. Just need to try and save some time, I'm afraid. Let's comment that out, and I'm going to paste that up here and uncomment it. So we've now got a new add directory, so we can ignore that one there. In fact, let's move this up, move that out of the way because we're not using that. There we go. So this is our add-on now. So our add directory item, we now have, you can see that I've added in here, I've added fanart. We've got the icon. I think it was previously called icon as opposed to icon image. I've got the name. That was previously called title. I've got the URL, which I believe we had that called, we did, yeah, we had that called URL. And we've got the mode, which is going to be the arguments, and we've got the directory type. Okay, so let's see how that works. Now, what we're doing in here, we're defining what the base URL is. So we're telling it that is, as we already printed in the log just now, we know that's plugin video test. Okay, so it's saying base URL is equal to plugin video test. Yeah, makes sense. Perfect. So that gives us our base. That tells us where to start. And then we kind of need to create a folder structure. So the way to do that is, let's think of it like, I suppose if you needed to find somewhere on a map, but you didn't have the coordinates, you're going to struggle. You may by chance eventually stumble across it, but without the coordinates you're not going to be able to find that location. And the same happens here in Kodi. This base URL that we're creating here, this is going to be a unique location that we're creating. So whenever it needs to go find a folder or whatever, it knows this is the location it needs to be looking at. So what we're actually doing here is creating plugin video test at the top there, and then where we have a plus equals, I don't know if I've gone through this before or not, plus equals means grab whatever we've got before it, so base URL, so grab whatever that is equal to, and add to it. So we're going to add to it the question mark, and URL equals, and then we're going to also add this bit here, the URL lib quote underscore plus, and then in brackets URL. Now we could just have that, yeah, and that would make much more sense for this basic example, but we may as well get things right from the offset. Now the reason we've put this in instead of just that, so let's undo that. The reason we've put that in is the URL lib module has lots of different functions that can clean up text. So this one, for example, is going to turn it into text that Kodi can use. So it's sort of, it replace underscores, it replace spaces, and it changed, characters, special characters into that sort of ASCII version, all that kind of thing. So if you ever want to convert something into something machine readable, that it can use in paths, if you want to use it on a website or whatever, that's what you'd use. You'd use that module and then put in brackets whatever your variable is, and it will convert it for you. So at that point, what we've got there is, so we're telling it we've got plugin video test, add to that the URL equals, and then we add the URL in a code friendly format. Then we're grabbing that, so base URL is currently plugin video test question mark URL equals, and then the URL, so we're adding to that the mode, and then we're adding that, so we're building up this big huge long variable. Okay, so what we do is, let's just put in there xbmc log base URL, and then we can actually, let's make it more obvious, base there we go. So we can print that to the log, and you'll be able to see exactly what's been built. And you know what? If we copy that and put that after each one, you'll be able to see how it's built up. Yeah, base 1, base 2, base 3, base 4, and base 5. Right. So that's good. That's all that. I suppose we might as well try running it and just see what happens. So we're going to have to change these a little bit. Do you know what? I think I've got some already created down here, rather than just change those up. He says, I think, yeah, copy that. Right, we comment those out, and let's see what we've got here. So we've got add directory. So what we're sending through here is the directory type. So I'm going to say it's a video. The mode, now I'm actually putting that as blank. We go more into that in a moment, the reason for that. The URL, so that's that video, that's the URL that's up here, video 1, online video. We've got the name, which is the name there, Babies and Breadwinners, and then we've got the icon, there you go, and I've also put an icon as the fan art. Now don't worry, it's not going to match up. It's just some random icons we had, but just to show you how it works, I thought that's what I'd do. So let's click save, and we just see what actually happens. So you can see we've now got fan art, and we've now got a little icon there as well. And what happens if we click on it? At this point in time, it's not working. It's sort of opening another folder, but it's the same thing over and over. So let's have a look at the log, and hopefully, I mean, this is what we wanted. It's going to show us our base URL being built. So we've got, there you go, you've got your plugin video test, and then you've got your URL equals and mode equals, and then it gets added with name equals, and then you go down, you've got added to that icon image equals, and then what else have we got? We've then got, I think we've got, have we got anything else there? Name, icon image. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete where it says video there. The reason I'm doing that is I had it in there by accident when I was playing with something else. If we go through this code here, so we've built all that up, and then we've gone over this in a previous guide, explained what all that does. You can see there we've set the fan art. Okay, so to do that you would get your variable, which in our case is the li, and then you just do set property, and it's fan art underscore image with uppercase F and I, and then comma, and you fan art whatever you're sending through. So in our case, that one there. So that's how we assign our fan art. So that's nice and easy. But here we go, down here, what I'm doing is I've got it saying if directory type is not blank, we send it through all this kind of stuff that we sent through before, but we say URL is the base URL. Okay, so that's that big long string that we created. So we tell it, okay, send through that, and is folder equals true. So we've got another variable on the end there saying folder is true. Okay, so that's if it's not blank. Otherwise, so in this case, now I've got rid of video, that would be otherwise, because it is blank. We do the same sort of thing again, but URL is URL and not base URL. So that's our original URL, which in our case here was the video. Okay, so if it's not a folder, what we're saying is we don't need to send all that stuff through over there that we've built up. We only need to send through the link. So we send through the link, and is folder is false. I mean, that's optional. You don't even have to put the is folder because it's false by default. So but just to keep things clean, I'm just going to leave that there. Is folder equals false. So in this case, what should now happen is instead of trying to open it as a directory, it will actually open it as a playable file. So let's give it a little go. Click on that, and then you can see it's trying to play it, which is perfect, exactly what we wanted. So we've got over the little problem with it kind of shown as a folder, which isn't actually a working folder. Now, it does get a little complex here. What we're going to have to do is, so the mode up there that we sent through, what we need to do is do something based on what the mode is in our main code. So somewhere before where we close the directory structure, what we're going to do is do mode equals none. So that's kind of saying it's null, it's nothing, it's not equal to anything. And we're going to create a new module, a new function, sorry, called main menu. And we're going to add in here, we're going to add some folders. So we're going to tell it we want a folder, and we're going to send the mode as, let's do it as movie list. Because it's a folder, we don't need to send a URL. Okay, so I'm just going to put that as blank quotation marks like that. I'm going to change this to movies, and I'm just going to keep the icons the same for now. Let's do icon 1, icon 2, and then we copy that, put another one in, and we call this one trailer list, and that could be trailers, and we do icon 2, icon 3, just to mix it up. Okay, so we've created a new function called main menu, and that is going to create our very first menu that you open up into. But we have to call that. Currently, Kodi doesn't know that it needs to call it. Trust me, this will all make sense in a minute. Unfortunately, you kind of have to just go with the flow. You kind of need to know it all at the same time. So I'm trying to do it as best I can here. But for your directory structure, you're going to need to basically be able to call a function. Okay, you don't want to be creating it in the start of your add-on. You actually want to be able to call it. So what we're going to put is if mode is equal to none, which we know it is because we just said mode is none. If mode is equal to none, we do main menu. Main menu. Yeah, you can see there I've put the if statement on the same line as opposed to how I usually do it, which is like that. It doesn't matter, you can do it either way, but when doing these mode bits at the bottom, we're going to end up putting a lot of them on there. So personally, I just like it on the same line, something like that. So if mode is none, we do main menu. Elif, so otherwise, so if it's not none, if mode is equal to movie list, and we create a new function called movie list. Let's just space that out a little better. Oopsie daisy, that's not what I want to do. And elif mode is equal to trailer list. We do trailer. list. And then that bit at the bottom, xbmc plugin in the directory, just tells us it's the end of the directory structure. It's the end of the add-on, essentially. It goes at the end. So what we've done there, so we've said mode is none. Yep. So Kodi loads up, it reads that mode is none. Okay. If mode is none, we open up the main menu. Brilliant. And then if the mode changes to any of these things, it will load up the relevant ones, the relevant functions. So I suppose what we'd better do is let's just create another couple of functions. Define, what do we have? Movie list, add directory. Now we're going to have a playable item in here, so we need that as blank. We need that the mode can be blank. What was the other thing we passed through there? Mode, the URL. So I'll do video 1, space that out a little better, video 1, and then we've got name, so that'll be babies and breadwinners. Then we've got the icon image, so we do that as icon 1, and the fan art, we just do that as icon 3. Okie dokie. Right, let's copy that. Let's do another 2. So we do video 2, video 3. And what was our videos called? We had House on Haunted Hill, House on Haunted Hill, and Night of Living Dead. And we're just going to copy that whole thing and rename it to trailer list. So then we've got all the functions needed that we're calling. Yep. So we've got trailer list, movie list, main menu. We've got all 3 of those now. And just to make it clearer, we just put trailer in brackets at the end. Okay. So I'm going to save that, and I'm guessing it's not going to work quite as you might expect. So click on that. Brilliant. That's a good start. You can see we've got a fan art, we've got our icon, we've got our listings. Yep. Now let's try clicking on one. It's not gone into the relevant section. We're still on the main menu function. Now, why is that? Let's check the log, have a look. So we've got our what we've got is our mode, our kind of our system argument, sorry, here. Okay, so we've got all those there. Actually, do you know what? Let's go back in there and get rid of all those print statements, because we don't need those now, and they're just making the log look messy. What else have we got? We got any more in there? I think that's it. Right. Now, what we're going to do is xbmc log args2, and then we're just going to put in sys.argv square brackets 2, because we want the second item, sorry, the third item in that list, which should be our big long URL. So let's save that. We go back in, Let's come out. Right, test. Click on one of those. Let's look at the log. So you can see there, so that line there, it's none. Okay, there's nothing to show. That was our first menu, our main menu. And then when we clicked on that next menu, after it sort of set all those items, you can see we've got question mark, fanart equals, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that is our system arguments. So we can now manipulate those and do stuff with them. So you can see in there, we've actually, the mode should have hopefully changed. If I can see mode in there. There you go. And mode equals movie list. Right. So what we actually need to do is pull out that mode. We need to find out what that equals. So if I just as an example, if I come, let's come back out, test, and I click on trailers, we should hopefully find that we've now got mode is trailer list. Yeah. So mode equals trailer list. Now there's various ways we can do this. This is by no means the best. This is just something I knocked up earlier today when I was messing around. I was trying to think of a good way of doing this with the limited knowledge that we all, currently have at this juncture in the course. So as I say, you will find different ways of doing this. You'll see in some add-ons there's a function called getParams which does lots of clever stuff. But we're not going to go into that because it's much more advanced. By all means, go through and have a look and see if you can understand it. It's not too hard to understand once you put a few print statements in there and find out what's happening. But for this case, we're just going to pull that mode out of that argument. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's do if system argument 2, let's think about this. If system argument 2 is not equal to none, then we are going to we're going to split that up. So we've got that big long string, and we know the bit that we need out of it is it starts with, where are we? It starts with and mode equals. So that's a unique identifier. We know that's not in there anywhere else, so we can use that. So we're just going to regex this out. So if we do, sorry, we're not going to regex it out. We're just going to split it. So let's do mode equals system argument 2, and we're going to split that. So dot split, and that's going to create a new list. So it's going to, yeah. So what we do after doing split, because I'm not sure that I've gone through this before or not. So we do system argument 2. So we split that, and then we tell it where exactly we want to split it. So for example, if we put a question mark, not a question mark, if we put a ampersand in there, what it would do is every time it sees an ampersand, so well, there's one there, there's one there, I'm sure there's a few more there, oh there's one there, yep, so there's a few in there. At every single instance of ampersand, it would split the text up to the ampersand, and put it in a list, and then it would add the next bit of text up to the next ampersand, put that in the list, then it would add the next bit, add that to the list, and you'd end up with a list of about 5 items, I guess, with this. We don't really want that. That's not too clean. We want to be more precise and split it at mode equals, because we know there's only one of those in there, and then that give us two items in our list. It'll give everything before that, and the second item in the list will be everything after that. So let's do that. So let's do split at well, we don't even, well, I suppose it doesn't, yeah, we don't even need the and. Let's just do mode equals. So that's going to split it at that point, and then mode equals, we want the second thing in that list. Actually, do you know what, before I do that, because I know I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here and I should explain it a little better. So let's add to the log. We'll have to do it as a string because it's actually a list. So let's do xbmc log mode, and what we should have is a list cut of 2 items that were cut at the mode equals. So the mode equals will not appear in there. You just have 2 separate bits. So let's have a little check and see if I've done that correct. Let's come out, test. Oh, hold on, I've done something wrong there. Oh no, I've not. No. What am I talking about? It shouldn't be doing anything yet because we've not finished the code. I need to look in the log. Right, in the log, we've got so we've got our arguments, but we've actually got we've got blank there. What have I done wrong there? Mode equals. So we should be splitting it at that point. Let's have a look. I see what I've done. Right. Let's move that down a bit. To make this clearer, let's just create a variable called args, and then it's going to look a bit cleaner, and we'll be able to see where we are in the code a little better. Right. So our arguments is system arguments 2. If system arguments, so we can change that to if args, and I'm going to change that altogether. What I'm going to change it to is if the length of arguments, so that's going to find how many characters are in arguments. So if it's still none, if the mode is still none, it's going to be nothing. Okay. So if it's more than 0, then we move on to this next section. Otherwise, it should remain as mode is none. So length of arguments. So what we got here, mode equals. Get rid of that again. Just make it cleaner. Oops. So mode equals args dot split, and we're splitting it at mode equals. Okay. So it should theoretically, he says, that should print our it should bring up the directory structure and then print to the log. Let's see. Yep, so we've got our directory structure now, and if we click on one of them, we're getting somewhere. We've got an empty folder. So let's look in the log. Right, so that's the empty one. That was the main menu. And then And then when we moved into the next one, when the arguments actually started populating, we split it up. So you can see we've got what we got in here. That's the first one. That's the first item in the list. And then this here is the next item in the list. So we're getting there. So we've now got a much smaller string to play with, and all we need to get now is that bit there. So everything up to the next and. So you've probably guessed already, but what we're going to do in this case is, I mean, we could use regex and stuff like that, but we're just going to use the split function because it works very nicely for this. We're just going to split it at and. So what we're actually going to end up with in this particular case is we're going to end up 3 items: movie list, name equals movies, and we're going to end up with URL because we've got 1, 2 ampersands. So we'll end up with 3 items. So let's test that out. So we want mode equals mode equals mode. What was it? It was the second item in the list we want to play with. So we want mode equals, so the second item in that list, yeah, and we're going to split that at the ampersand. And then let's do xbmc log string mode and see how that pans out. Let's come back out, come right the way back out. Test movies. Now let's see what we've got in there. There you go. See, that's perfect. That is what we want. That's what we've been after all along. We want to know what mode is, so we can find that's the first item in our new list. Okay, so we've just got to assign mode to mode 0 because 0 is the first item in the list. So let's do that. So if we do mode equals mode 0, and now what we should find is our menu structure actually properly works. Theoretically, we should find, because what we're telling it here in the main menu is so we're creating a folder, and the mode we're sending through, we're saying movie list, do movie list once we click on it. Well, that's all well and good, but up until this point movie list had no meaning. It says if mode is movie list, but we never knew that mode was movie list. Mode was just that big long list. So this should now work. So let's try that. Let's try the theory, see if it does actually work. Let's come back out. Right, test movies, and there we have it. We have a proper directory structure, and we can try clicking on something, and you can see it's trying to play. As I say, it's quite a complex thing to get your head round, so you may have to rewind this and play it back a few times until you grasp it. But people will tell you that you can just use there's a module you can import called Tomo Common add-on methods that a developer called Tomo produced. It's quite dated now, but it's actually very useful. It has got some good useful functions in there, and there's a what's it called, plugin what's it called? Oh, plugin tools, that's what it's called. There's also a module called plugin tools that you can use as well, which also has a lot of these functions already made. But the reason I wanted to go through this with you, instead of showing you how to just easily call it from one of those, is there are times when you might want to edit what kind of things you're sending. You might want to send fanart, you might want to send a plot, you might want to send I don't know, a link to trailers and things like that. There might be multiple things you want to be able to do with it, and you'll think, I've only ever used that module and it's very limited in what you can do with it. Whereas now, hopefully you understand what the mode thing is all about, how it's working, and once you've got that understanding, you can edit it however you want. You can make these lists do exactly what you want. You can get it to put different artwork up on the screen and all sorts of clever stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's it. We've got our trailer list, our movie list, and just to show you how easy it is to do subdirectories as well. If we just copy, let's just copy that one. We'll put that in our trailer list, and we just create another new function called TV list, and we're going to call that TV. We'll leave the icons the same, and let's do copy some of that. So TV list, it's going to example 1 and example 2, and then of course what we're going to need is, because we're saying in there if it equals TV list, we also need to define that down at the bottom. So we need to say, okay, if mode is equal to lf mode is equal to TV list, then we do TV list. Marvellous. So that, fingers crossed, should work, and I can get rid of these logging statements. I don't actually need those anymore. So let's save that, and just where did we put that in? It was in the trailer section. So test trailers, you can see we've now got an item down at the bottom, and we've got our bits in here. Okay, and you can keep going. You can recursively go through and create as many folders as you want. You can make them look flashier, put the color tags on them, things like that. But that's essentially it. I mean, you're off. You're ready to create your own video add-on from scratch without using anyone else's modules, which is great. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I hope that confusing one there hasn't put you off the rest of the course. I think that's probably the worst one out of the way now. Alright, all the best. Right, that concludes this week's episode, and please remember to use the official support forum. There's a dedicated forum section set up at noobsandnerds.com for this series of guides. If you have any questions, please use the relevant support thread. Thank you. And the support threads can be found very simply actually by going to noobsandnerds.com, and on the home page there you'll see a menu bar at the top. If you highlight the development section, there's a subcategory called Python Koding, and in there it will have a link to each of the relevant support threads for each of the videos. So hopefully see you over there soon, and it might be a good idea for you to subscribe to the Noobs and Nerds Twitter, obviously this YouTube channel, and possibly even the forum thread over at Noobs and Nerds, so you don't miss out on any. We may have to have a mid-season break next week, as I'm actually on holiday, so trying to work out what to do for that one. So yeah, don't worry if you don't see a guide. Not planning on stopping this. It's just that I'm going to be away having some fun in the sun. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, and hopefully catch up soon on Noobs and Nerds.